Yeah. Hey everybody, my name is E-Double, their name is PJ Harvey. Let's go. Mama told me. Yeah. Black Paisley. Mama told me. Yeah. Come on. Mama told me. One day I'ma grow up big and I'ma be a king in my papa.
Hey, welcome back to the Glycogen Cycling channel. So today was another kind of sort of Grand Fondo ride. So it's kind of just like a local Grand Fondo. No one's gonna really travel here. I mean, maybe some people do, but mostly this is with people within the local community. So like Naples to Fort Myers, probably within like a 50-ish mile radius of Naples. So they all came out, and we had a decent group starting out, probably about 80 riders. But obviously, as we go harder and get the pace up, we're gonna drop a majority of those guys as we did. But the first half of this ride was actually pretty controlled. We probably are averaging 25, 26, but we had kind of a head tail crosswind. I don't know, it was kind of blowing a little bit, but it was definitely a crosswind, and there was definitely parts in the 30s, but for the most part it was pretty controlled. And before I get this video started, I just want to say this was a big week for me. Before today, I was 16 hours on the bike, and that was mainly because it was a holiday weekend. There was a lot of big rides. People had off work, so they were like, hey, let's go do this group ride, let's do that group ride. And the miles just kind of added up. My goal was like 17. I ended up doing 20. So that being said, I was definitely not, a game for today. But I'm looking forward to this recovery week coming up next week. And if you want to know more about all that training schedule, watch my last video, which is linked in the top right corner, and you can learn all about that. So as I put that little dig in, I kind of just want to test out the legs, see where I'm at. And I was definitely not feeling super great, but towards the second half of this ride, I kind of started warming up. And as that group passed me, there was kind of a few comments about I should be keeping it smooth. And I will say that kind of set the tone for this ride, because I don't know, I just don't like when people tell me how to ride my bike. I came to play bikes today, and I'm going to ride. If I want to attack, I'm going to attack. It's just, if you don't want to deal with that, then go in the back. And then Javier came to my rescue here. There's a gap opening up, and luckily he comes out of nowhere and ends up closing this for me, which I was very thankful for. And that's going to be a little foreshadowing for the second half of this video, so stay tuned for that. And you'll see Mr. Watson is still off the front. He's the one that's putting some carnage in, blowing this field up. And I don't know this route at all. I've never ridden back here, so this is all uncharted territory for me. And I also didn't know there was a stop coming up, but I decided I want to bridge up to this move. I was debating whether to go on the right side or the left, but I thought it would just be safer to go on the left, take the long way around, and try to bridge up to this. So like I was saying, there's a stop up ahead, so this whole thing kind of was pointless. But that being said, not really, because it really got my legs moving, and that was important, I think, because I don't know, it's weird, but when I have a lot of fatigue in my legs, it usually takes me like 30, 40 miles until I'm like able to go hard, which seems counterintuitive, but That's just kind of how it is. So that guy kind of got on my wheel when I threw that attack down. And when he pulled through, it was just, I don't know if it was super surgy or what, but that was really hard for me to just hold that wheel. And at this point, we have a decent gap, and I kind of just want to get this going, but I think they knew we had a stop coming up, so they didn't want to put in, 100% effort. But it was also fun going around these roundabouts super fast. Roundabouts just, I don't know what it is, but they just feel so pro to go around a roundabout so quick. Probably because it's, all over the World Tour races, but so here we are. We have a stop coming up. And what I want to say is, if you are like me, when you stop and then get going again, it's really hard for me to get the legs going. So what I have to do is, if there's a stop for, a rest break or whatever, or someone gets a flat, then what I do is I just spin around the parking lot until everyone's ready to go. Even if it's at 100 watts, it allows me to just keep the blood flowing, not cool down, and get it going. But honestly, that may just be from Little 5. That's because that's what we always did, because we had, a number of little races throughout the day, but that always helped me out. So here we are. I didn't turn the camera on before this, but I actually made it a little attack. So we had a pretty controlled pace going, I'd say. We were probably going about 25, 26. People were rotating. Everyone seemed happy with that. But again, I came to play bikes, so I'm not going to ride controlled and smooth. I'm going to attack because it's training, and that's what I want to do. And that's kind of also a foreshadowing for later on. But before this, I knew I didn't want to go at this alone because, again, we have this crosswind coming from the left-hand side. And it was kind of hard to tell if it was a cross headwind or a cross tailwind. But honestly, it may just be strictly crosswind, direct. So no help from the wind at all. And like I was saying, I looked at Mr. Watson before I made this attack, and I'm like, hey, get on my wheel, because I didn't want to do this alone. It was this is probably a 5 to 10 mile stretch of just straight. There's, basically just straight. So if you look at the map at the top right corner, until that first turn, that left-hand turn, it was just all straight. And I looked at him, I said, get on my wheel. And I attacked on the one little bridge I could find that had maybe 5 feet of elevation gain. And I looked back and he's not there. So I basically just had to go. I'm like, I have to go this alone because everything was controlled and now it's just me attacking. So there's no way I'm going to let them pull me back. So you can see I was kind of just a little bit above threshold for a lot of this until the end here. I kind of started blowing up. But then I look back and who do I see but my boy Javier again coming to save the day. And this gave me so much more motivation to dig deep because I was cooked. I was out there for probably 10 or so minutes solo, holding just above threshold, my 20-minute power basically. So it was hard, not gonna lie, it was hard. Especially being, like I said, 18, 19 hours into this week so far, with not easy efforts. So me and him rotate for another 10 or 15 minutes, and we make it all the way to the end and get stopped by a stoplight. We probably had a minute gap at the biggest. We looked back, we couldn't see the field really, and on a straight road that's pretty good. So this stoplight kind of screwed us, and the group ended up, pulling us back within like 10 seconds. So it wasn't really worth it to dig deep to try to hold that gap, because now we have this little headwind section until we get back to the crosswind. So now when you get pulled back, you just want to like sit in and recover a bit, obviously, because you just put in a big effort. But if you are in that chase group and you can recover or not do as much work, this would be like the best time to attack, because everyone who was chasing is going to be tired. The breakaway is going to be tired. So if you can conserve in that chase group and go, that's the best move, because you'll be the most fresh and everyone will be demotivated, not wanting to pull that back. And that's kind of what happened here. I found myself on the front again. Obviously, those two riders were doing work in the field, but they had a little bit left in the tank to go again. And I didn't want to get on that. I was just off the front for basically 25 minutes, so I didn't want to. I didn't want to get on that again. So I'm looking around, seeing who's gonna help me out here, and we're having a lot of trouble trying to get this rotation going. It was not a fun time, to say the least. So you'll see here, again, we have the wind coming from the left-hand side. So the only way to get a draft is to sit slightly off to the right. And you're going to notice Cat 5 Pro here was not happy with this move off the front. But honestly, he went a little bit too late. If he was going to do this, he should have gone right away, because closing down 15 seconds, 20 seconds by yourself, actually they're probably around 10 to 15, that's a lot harder than just closing down 3. So especially in the wind. So if that move goes, you can't hesitate really. And because he went, I knew he and I were probably the strongest two in this little group we had. So wherever he goes, I have to go, because we can't be separated and working against each other. If me and him got off the front, that group would be done for, basically. But that didn't happen. Everyone was together, and we're at this point, we're just trying to get this rotation going, because the only way we're going to catch those two is if we work together at this point, because they have a big enough gap where one single person or two guys can't pull this back. And this guy kind of was surging a little bit. It happens, but this is the kind of thing that really demotivates everyone when they have to close gaps like this. I'm going up to 600 watts, trying to be as smooth as possible, but those little surges when you're trying to close down another gap, those hurt, man. Those hurt a lot. So you'll see I'm looking around, seeing if anyone else is gonna help me out here, because we got to share the effort. Okay, so like I was saying before, the wind is coming from the left, so if you are not situated slightly to the right, then you're not getting a great draft. And you'll notice we're all rotating towards the wind. So whenever you're in a pace line, if the wind's coming from your right, you want to rotate from the left to the right. And then if it's coming from the left like it is here, you want to rotate towards the wind, basically. So we have a rotation going occasionally. Like right now that was a good rotation. We're pulling around 28 miles per hour. And if we just keep this up, we're going to be a lot more efficient than the two of them up there. They're probably holding about 27 or so, 26, 27. So if we can just keep up 28, which shouldn't be too hard with 5 or 6 guys, that's, we'll be able to pull them back. But you'll see here, the one guy in the blue just skips a pole here, and that just screws everything up. And I'm not trying to pick on this guy, but that's if you're in a breakaway, that's what basically kills your breakaway, because I'm waiting for him to come through, but then the time he's not there, there's a gap opening and I'll have to shut it down. So if you listen to this right here, so you'll notice everyone was getting super upset with each other, yelling at each other, swearing at each other. And, that actually uses a lot of energy, whether not even like physically, but like mentally. If you're doing that in a breakaway, getting upset with someone and they're not doing any work, it takes a toll on you. So what I like to do is just let someone, if you're in that position and someone's getting angry at you, just basically just say nothing, and they're going to use their energy, and you can just, conserve that little bit more. That's my little tip. So here was the last little effort I had, trying to get a little separation going, because see where that turn is up ahead? That's kind of where the sprint is. And I knew at this point I didn't have anything left in my legs. I was toasted. I'm about 400 miles in for the week. And if I couldn't get a breakaway going, then it was basically donezo for me. So there was kind of a bit of controversy on how I was riding in this part. I was hugging the right side of the road, because in a race, if there's a crosswind coming from your right, that's what guys in the front will do. So you get absolutely no draft. And that's kind of what I was trying to do to get some separation. But obviously that wasn't, very a popular move. And I can totally understand why. But I really believe in the mentality of training how you race, because you want to be comfortable making that move in a race. So this goes for a number of things, whether it's, putting on clothes while you're riding, like a jacket if it starts raining, eating food while you're in a pack. That's an important skill to learn how to do, because if you're a rider that stops on the side of the road to have a bar, that's not what you're going to be able to do in a race. You're going to have to learn how to eat while riding. A whole number of things like that. There's other important skills you need to know, tactics-wise, besides just riding your bike hard. Like, you need to know how to handle a bump. So maybe go out and with your friends and test bumping. Don't do that in a group ride. But I'm pretty comfortable with my handling abilities, where I wasn't putting anyone in danger. So because of that, I thought it was perfectly acceptable. That's all I'm going to say. And here was here was the end. So Mr. Watson puts in an attack, and I try to close it down, but I have nothing. I gave everything I could to go do 1,000 watts. And I probably should have jumped on this, but at this point I was kind of just done for the day and the week. But yeah, so hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know down below what you liked, what you didn't like, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.